Forget outdated notions of global influence. The UK's true power isn't in its politics or its past, but in the hands of its youth. We're talking about a quiet digital takeover, where young British entrepreneurs, artists and educators are exporting culture and specialised skills worldwide, completely reshaping how nations interact and what soft power truly means in 2026. Get ready to see how a new generation is putting Britain back on the map. Not with tanks, but with TikToks and cutting-edge creativity. This is the story of how the British exit from traditional systems led to a global entry into the digital vanguard. 1. The new global ambassadors, from broadcast to broadband. For decades, British cultural export was managed by massive institutions like the BBC or the British Council. In 2026, those gatekeepers have been bypassed. Gen Z and Gen Alpha creators have become the new global ambassadors, broadcasting a version of Britishness that is raw, diverse, and hyperkinetic. Whether it's the global explosion of UK drill and garage, the London aesthetic in digital fashion, or the dry, self-deprecating wit of British creators, the UK is currently the most significant cultural exporter on platforms like TikTok and YouTube. This is Cool Britannia 2.0. But unlike the 90s version, this isn't state-sponsored. It's organic, digitally native, and it's creating a cultural resonance that transcends borders faster than any traditional media campaign ever could. 2. Digital diplomacy, the rise of the British solopreneur. As we discussed in our analysis of the cognitive squeeze, the traditional office job is evaporating. In its place, we're seeing the rise of the British solopreneur. These are coders, designers and niche consultants who are leveraging global platforms to export specialised skills. The British voice in education remains a premium global asset. By utilising the architecture of value, these individuals are bypassing local economic stagnation to sell their expertise to markets in Asia, the Middle East, and North America. They aren't just working remotely, they are practicing a form of digital diplomacy, where every line of code exported reinforces the UK's position as a hub of high-value cognitive labour. 3. Niche expertise and the global marketplace. The UK has always been a nation of shopkeepers. But in 2026, the shop is a digital storefront on a global marketplace. We are seeing a boom in niche exporting, including everything from British-led ethical AI consulting to boutique architectural design for virtual spaces. Because UK youth have been forced to adapt to the education exit, they are often more agile in acquiring high-demand skills than their peers in more rigid systems. This agility allows them to identify and dominate emerging global niches before larger, slower competitors even realise a market exists. 4. The hidden economic engine, creative FX. There is a massive, often uncounted economic boom happening in the UK creative industries. While traditional manufacturing may face headwinds, the invisible export of digital content and services is a powerhouse of foreign exchange. Every time a global brand hires a British TikTok strategist or a Japanese gamer buys a digital asset designed in Manchester, capital flows into the UK. This creative FX is an investment magnet. Foreign capital is increasingly flowing into UK-based creative tech hubs because the world recognises that the UK possesses a unique cultural intelligence that is difficult to replicate. 5. Geopolitical echoes, Resonance as strategic advantage. Soft power is often dismissed as fringe, but in 2026, cultural resonance translates directly into geopolitical influence. When a nation's youth are the trendsetters for the world, that nation gains a strategic advantage that money can't buy. The UK's image is being rebranded in real time, away from the royal family and tea stereotype, toward an image of a high-tech, creative and resilient society. This makes the UK a partner of choice for digital trade and security because the cultural friction is lower. The world already feels like it knows us through our digital exports. 6. Countering the narrative: organic versus manufactured influence. In an era of deep fakes and algorithmic bias, the authenticity of British youth culture is a potent geopolitical tool. While other nations spend billions on manufactured national branding, the UK's influence is bottom-up. This organic spread is much harder to block or cancel because it is rooted in genuine human connection. As we discussed in our video on digital sovereignty, the ability to project an authentic identity in a sea of synthetic content is the ultimate soft power. British youth are currently winning this battle, ensuring that the UK remains a vibe leader. 7. The future is fluid, sustaining the surge via infrastructure. For this resurgence to be more than a passing trend, the UK must transition from a gatekeeper state to a platform state. This requires a sophisticated rethink of domestic infrastructure. We aren't just talking about 6G or fibre optics. We are talking about the legal and financial frameworks that support the fluid worker. As we saw in the architecture of value, power now flows through decentralised networks. If the government continues to tax and regulate these digital nomads using 20th century industrial logic, they will simply relocate their tax residency to more agile jurisdictions. To sustain the surge, Britain must provide universal basic infrastructure, giving every young creator the tools, the legal protections, and the high-speed access to project their soft power without the friction of outdated bureaucracy. The goal is to make the UK the back end for global creative entrepreneurship. 8. Navigating the global challenges, the paradox of appropriation. With global influence comes a complex ethical minefield. As British youth culture is exported, it is inevitably remixed by global audiences, leading to the paradox of participation. To have soft power, you must allow your culture to be appropriated and reinterpreted. It must become part of the global vernacular. However, to have economic power, you must be able to protect and monetize your intellectual property. In 2026, we are seeing a tension between the open source nature of viral culture and the need for creators to maintain their digital sovereignty. We must also address the ethics of influence. As British creators shape the desires and trends of the global South, are we exporting a healthy, sustainable lifestyle, or are we just the digital version of the old colonial trade routes? Navigating these geopolitical ethics will be the defining challenge for the next generation of ambassadors. 9. What's next? AI as a cultural force multiplier. Looking toward the late 2000s, the next evolution of soft power will be driven by synthetic localization. We are entering an era where a British educator or musician can use AI to translate their content not just into another language, but into another culture, adjusting idioms, references, and even visual aesthetics in real time to resonate with a local audience in Lagos or Seoul. This isn't about erasing Britishness. It's about using AI as a force multiplier for cultural empathy. The British youth who thrived in the education exit are uniquely positioned to lead this, because they understand that the future of power isn't about what you say, but how it is felt. We are moving from static export, sending a video abroad, to dynamic interaction, AI-driven cultural exchange, where the British vibe is seamlessly integrated into the global digital fabric. 10. Reclaiming the narrative, the sovereign identity. Ultimately, this resurgence is the external projection of internal sovereignty. For years, the story of the UK was one of decline, isolation, and the cognitive squeeze. But the British youth of 2026 have reclaimed the narrative. They have realised that in a world of automated systems and collapsing institutions, the only thing that cannot be commodified is authenticity. By refusing to be cogs in a broken industrial machine, they have become the architects of a new, decentralised empire. They are proving that you don't need a massive military or a sprawling bureaucracy to lead the world. You just need the courage to be sovereign. Britain isn't back on the map. It has fundamentally redefined what the map looks like. Conclusion: the new sovereign. We have spent this series looking at how the old world is breaking, how the middle class is being squeezed, and how schools are failing. But in those cracks, a new kind of power is growing. The British youth of 2026 aren't waiting for the state to fix the economy. They are building a new one, out of code, culture, and creativity. They have turned a domestic crisis into a global opportunity, exporting the one thing that AI cannot replicate: the unique, irreducible spirit of a culture that refuses to be quiet. If the future of power is no longer about who owns the most land, but who owns the most mind share, then the UK might just be the most influential nation on Earth. But here is the question that should keep us all thinking. In an era where our youth are our primary export, are we doing enough to protect the humans behind the screens? Or are we just trading one form of industrial exploitation for another in the digital cloud?